YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Elon Musk tweeted out an update on the second Neuralink device that was recently done inside of a human. And remember, they've been doing this on a mass scale for a while. They're just announcing that it's in one person, it's in two people. This is to desensitize people to this technology being out in the world around us. And Elon Musk says, if all goes well, there will be hundreds of people with Neuralinks within a few years, maybe tens of thousands within 5 years, and millions within 10 years. Millions of people within 10 years, which means realistically within 15 to 20 years, they're talking about billions of people having the Neuralink. And eventually we know this will be forced onto people. They never openly force anything in the beginning onto people because they don't want them to get suspicious. They make you, and they make your life easier by getting this technology, and they make you feel like you're making the choice. But what we've seen is little by little, they force people who don't have cell phones to struggle to function in society. You may have noticed if you go to a restaurant these days, you can't even get a menu anymore. They want you to scan a QR code on your phone to bring up the menu. This is how they slowly force people into their technology. But at first, of course, they release it like this, and they say, well, this is going to help people, and this is going to make life easier for people, but we're not going to force it on anybody. Hopefully, eventually people want it because they realize it's beneficial to them. And again, I believe fully that this type of technology, the mixing of iron and clay, ties in with the mark of the beast and the digital ID. You're embedded with this technology. It's in your genes. It's in your genetic code. And what bothers me the most, maybe not the most, but what really bothers me about this is you see him tweeting that out, right? And then in between these tweets where he's talking about literally putting technology in people's bodies that'll change what they are, he's playing the role, right? Every other tweet, overwhelming support for Trump, right? Since a lot of people have asked, here goes a super unscientific poll. Who will you vote for? Overwhelming support for Trump, right? Baiting conservatives, baiting Christians, right? Tweets like this: nerfing of the gun emoji matches rise of the woke mind virus as a core tenet, is equating fake harm with real harm. So playing into people out there about the woke mind virus, right? Of course, we know that Elon Musk allowed his child to transition and now is coming out and saying, well, I didn't really allow my child to transition. I didn't understand. I was under hypnosis from what the media was telling me about my child. This is just baiting 101. This is a wolf in sheep's clothing, and one that's very easy to see. And of course, when any of these people start making fun of the woke stuff, which is what the Daily Wire and the alt-right media does, that's how they get an audience. Because anybody out there with common sense knows that all this woke stuff is absolutely ridiculous. What they don't tell you is that it's really communism wrapped in a new package. And it's very easy to get an audience and get people to think that you're telling the truth by just making fun of insane woke ideologies. And that's exactly what Elon Musk and these people are doing. The reality of the matter is that everybody out there should be anti-woke. And even Democrats would be anti-woke if they actually were paying attention to what it really is, which is communism. Because communism is the enemy of humanity. It's the enemy to freedom, right? And all these Democrats are waving signs that say freedom, and they're like, we're going to be free with our Democratic communist politician because anything's better than that fascist Trump. They're not paying attention, but deep down inside, everybody knows the woke stuff is insane. Even the Democrats do. They just won't speak out against it because it's a part of their political party, and they'll do whatever they have to do to give support to anybody other than Donald Trump. So you see him playing on the emotions of conservatives, right? He's tweeting out about the new tax ideas, 44.6% capital gains tax proposal. Just the stuff that we allow these monsters to get away with, how we allow them to just take money that we all earn and we give it to them, and it's really supposed to be for our infrastructure. That's what the taxes are for. You're supposed to see the results of that. Well, you pay your state taxes and you should see your roads getting paved. You should see all this other stuff going on. But they never are held accountable for what your tax money goes to. They just tell you that they launder it through Ukraine. So you might say, well, conservatives and Christians aren't going to fall for this. But I'm going to show you some of the quotes that people are writing underneath Elon Musk's tweets about how millions of people will have a Neuralink inside them. But first, let me show you from a recent interview that Elon Musk did on Lex Friedman's podcast. He has a couple of clips here, okay? He's talking about superhuman abilities again. That's a key term that they're using in the marketing of the Neuralink. You could be like a superhero. You'll have superhero powers. That's why we're seeing an overabundance of these superhero movies. Okay, that's why they're coming out with some of the most ridiculous. Ant-Man is one I've heard of before. I mean, some of these notions of films that people are going to see, it's unbelievable. And every month, there's a new one, and you constantly hear them talk about, well, what if you could have a superpower? What would your superpower be? This is how they're subliminally marketing this to people. And the other thing you'll hear Musk say in this clip is he talks about human beings pretty much being an input and an output device, right? Keep in mind, input, output. He's talking about how you could upload memories. And they're comparing it to the cell phone. These are things that they're going to continue to do, right? Well, what if you could upload? And people out there, all they'll need to see is a seamless transition where it seems simple, where it's like, hey, it's like you become the cloud, right? All your memories from your phone you could upload into your own mind. You won't have to worry about Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or any of those types of things. And you won't have to worry about forgetting these things. It'll always be inside of you. You won't need a cloud. You won't need a computer. You won't need a phone itself. Because remember, all this stuff is going inside of you. Listen to him talking about human beings, again, how he's comparing, like I've been warning everybody about, he's been comparing the phone and the transition to the phone to going inside of you. That's what he's talking about here.
Do you think there will be a world in the next couple of decades where it's hundreds of millions of people have Neuralinks?
Yeah, if it's extremely safe, and you have and you can have superhuman abilities, and let's say you can upload your memories, so you wouldn't lose memories, then I think probably a lot of people would choose to have it. It would supersede the cell phone, for example. I mean, it's the biggest problem that a phone has is trying to figure out what you want. So that's why you've got autocomplete, and you've got output, which is all the pixels on the screen. But from the perspective of the human, the output is so friggin' slow. Desktop or phone is desperately just trying to understand what you want.
So he's talking about a world in the next couple of decades where it's hundreds of millions of people who have this. I just showed you the tweet where he's talking about in the next 10 years, millions of people. Hundreds of millions soon means billions. Soon means everybody has this inside of them. And they're using Musk to play the role of conservative because they want everybody has to be on board with this stuff. Remember, when you see both political parties agreeing on stuff, be suspicious, right? In the beginning with the vaccine, the conservatives were pushing the vaccine on everybody, Operation Warp Speed. Fox News was telling everybody they should get it, but they wouldn't tell you that you should lose your job over it, right? Then they flipped to the Democrats because they did it at that time period because they knew that they needed to get everybody on board. They've seen a lot of pushback from it. Then conveniently, of course, Elon Musk becomes a conservative. Why? Because they know that people out there are becoming suspicious of the vaccines and the nanotechnology. So they need to have somebody, because how many conservatives out there hate Bill Gates? How many conservatives out there don't trust these people like Jeff Bezos? A lot of them, right? So they need somebody out there to play into them so that they feel like this is safe and this is good for them. And it's working, because look at some of the comments. This is underneath the tweet, again, where he says, update about the second Neuralink device in a human. If all goes well, there'll be hundreds of people with Neuralinks within a few years, tens of thousands within 5, and millions within 10. So you would think underneath it, people go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, now you're suddenly a conservative. Now you're telling us in between tweeting about our taxes and how crazy Democrats are, and telling us that we need to get a Neuralink in our body. You would think they'd be suspicious, but they're not. This is some of the stuff. The trajectory you're sketching for Neuralink isn't just ambitious. It's the stuff of sci-fi made real. So you'd think the next sentence would be like, oh my gosh, this is freaky. But no, he said it's utterly electrifying. Imagine in a decade, millions not just connected, but interconnected, their thoughts weaving a tapestry of collective consciousness. Underneath that, when I first heard of Neuralink, it terrified me, says this woman, but I've decided to remain open-minded. Now, perhaps not literally personally, but the potential it has to help certain medical conditions is pretty phenomenal. So, okay, this person says, well, they were terrified at first. So what made them change? Well, being desensitized, right? Time has gone by. Of course, when you hear about somebody being hooked up to the internet and being able to control their computer through their mind, the first thing most people are going to think is that this is dangerous and this is scary. So what matters most is the people who are pushing it to you, right? So somebody who has the same ideologies politically as you. And what matters is the stories and the propaganda that come out around it. That's how somebody like Meta Jane goes from being terrified to saying, I remain open-minded. And of course, the last two sentences, exactly what I've been talking about for years and years and years, right? Well, perhaps not literally personally. She's saying, well, not for me, but the potential it has to help others. So this is us allowing this technology to exist, right? And being open-minded. And then eventually when they decide to market it to Meta Jane, who once said, perhaps not literally or personally that she would want it, she'll be lining up for it. Because all she'll need to hear is how the Neuralink helps her personal problems. Oh, you could live longer? Hey, Meta Jane, you won't get wrinkles. Hey, Meta Jane, guess what? No more depression or anxiety. Hey, guess what, Meta Jane? You could sleep less. Oh my goodness, Meta Jane, you'll have to keep up with all your competitors in the workspace because they all have a Neuralink. And they're thinking faster than you are because you're running to your phone to search for things, and they're doing it with their mind, right? And then all of a sudden, Meta Jane doesn't remember this tweet 10 years later, or 10 years, when she looks back in time. She doesn't remember ever saying this because she's been conditioned into it. That's how it works. Here's more. Of all the various ventures you are involved in, this is by far the most important and beneficial to humanity. If your team can get the lame walking again, what a blessing from God Neuralink is. And 100 years from now, your name will be synonymous with Neuralink. Yeah, his name will be synonymous with the mark of the beast and the end of human beings, God's creation as we know it. I mean, this shows you how ridiculously insane most of these people are. I want to use the word retarded. I guess I should just use it since we're on the website, right? And if you're offended by a word like retarded, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, people get so sensitive about every single word, but we grew up saying words like retard. It's not offensive if somebody is sick or suffers from something that is a mental disability. But let's just say what this is, right? This is retarded. We actually have somebody who's thanking him, saying of all the things he's done, this is by far the most important, and that it's a blessing from God. So God has blessed Elon Musk, who isn't even a Christian, right? God has come down, he's blessed him with this fallen angel technology known as the Neuralink, and these people are literally linking this up to God. This is how deep this hypnosis, this psychosis runs, right? Here's another person. The more people in need that can have access to this technology to use in everyday activities is better. So the more people that can have access to it. Now we have somebody talking about access. Oh, it's just for the people who are sick with Parkinson's. What about more of us having access to this tech? Because it could better our lives, right? And these people, I mean, this is what you talk about. I mean, what we call it lukewarming of the church. You don't even have to, if you don't want to look at this and say, well, these aren't Christians. These are just people out there with, who are conservative who have this mindset. But we did see somebody tweet saying that this was something from God. And they, I mean, it's insanity. It's utter insanity. But remember, the love of this technology is part of the problem. That's why I keep talking about separating from tech. And eventually that's where I'll be headed, where I'm getting completely offline for good. Because the internet really, if you think about it, the benefits, it's an addiction in a sense, right? Is it not? I mean, how often are we all online? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite or a liar to people who listen to my channel. I'm online a lot. Obviously, I'm uploading all the time. I'm reading things. I'm researching things. I do have a lot of books that I do read offline, but we're all on the internet a good majority of our day. And every day that I'm offline, I feel better. I feel mentally better. I feel more alive than being in this hive of the internet, right? But it's an addiction. It's so funny how they talk about all these addictions out there. They talk about, drugs and alcohol, and these are all bad addictions, smoking cigarettes. I think the internet might be the worst addiction that there is. And I think they know that, and they never mention that. And the only thing they mention is social media and addiction that kids have to social media. But it's poison. It's poison for the mind. It's poison for the soul, right? And we have all these people out there who continue to rely on tech. They don't want to hear anything negative about tech. They love it. They love getting mass amounts of media. They love getting their controlled media, thinking it's free media, which is the alt-right media. And all of these guys, the one thing in common is you never hear any of them say, hey, we need to take a step back from technology. You ever hear Trump or any of these guys say, hey, we're not going to Bitcoin. In fact, we need to make sure we have more cash, right? But they'll defend Trump because they think Bitcoin is free from the Federal Reserve, which is nothing more than a psyop. Because who do you think is behind it? The CIA. I mean, yeah, we can all make our own currency, encrypt it online, and we can all go around spending that, right? Nobody would know what Bitcoin was if they didn't push it and pretend, of course, like it's some counter alternative to the Federal Reserve for truthers. And all these people took it, hook, line, and sinker. They can't think deep enough to understand how much control the government actually has over their thoughts and how deep their manipulation goes. It goes into everything. Q, it goes into Bitcoin, all of it. So that being said, you never hear any of them talk about coming out of the technology, right? Ever. Never anything about, hey, we shouldn't be putting Wi-Fi on the bus. We shouldn't be putting 5G tower. Never. Of course not. In fact, you hear Trump talking about how we need to be ahead in 6G, right? So that's a common thing. And like I said earlier, anything that both political parties are both on board with, that's what everybody out there should look at and be suspicious of, but they don't. They're too busy hating the other political actor that's being rolled out in front of their faces. So here's one more tweet before I show you this clip about how humans will see things at infrared, because that's needed. Somebody saying, from testing to transformation, this could be the dawn of a new era for human potential. We're on the brink of merging minds with machines, and the possibilities are limitless. Here's to pioneering the future one Neuralink at a time, right? This is a frightening reality. While somebody puts up an AI picture of Elon Musk, which in itself, this should be illegal, right? This AI, how we could see, how you could create these things with artificial intelligence. You could frame people. It's unbelievable. And we're just allowing them. And they're quietly doing it. Well, a lot of people out there, our mindset we all have is pretty similar. When things go down, when there's events, we always say to ourselves, what? What are they distracting us from, right? Like, if you think about this whole political nonsense that's been going on for the last 7-8 years now, think about all the stuff that they've done that hasn't even been open for discussion or debate because the media won't ever bring it up. So then the people out there don't think about it. And I'm talking about all this stuff with AI. I'm talking about this Hollywood strike with AI, giving artificial intelligence the right to exist in our world. That's what they're doing, quietly, underneath the surface. Yes, they're passing a lot of bills and laws to protect certain groups of people and all the other stuff that we know, which goes back to things like the Patriot Act we know that they passed after September 11th. But think about all the stuff that's happened in the last 8 years, and look where we're at. Like, someone's just posting this AI picture of Elon Musk. If I showed you this 10 years ago, you would have 100% thought it was a real picture of Elon Musk, and I'm assuming it is AI just based on the shininess of the picture. But maybe I'm even wrong because the AI has gotten so good over the years. People would say that should be illegal 20 years ago. They go, oh my gosh, no, right? But again, when you desensitize people and you release it all slowly, everybody starts accepting all of it. So here's another clip I want to play for you of Elon Musk when he's talking about infrared and how people are going to be able to see things in infrared. Isn't that great? Maybe they'll be able to see finally, maybe it's a good thing. Because maybe if people are seeing things in infrared, maybe they'll be able to see all that radiation around us, right? Maybe they'll be able to see all the EMF around us if they're seeing things in infrared. But here he is talking about that because apparently this is what humans need too.
Same for vision. As you restore vision, there could be aspects of that restoration that are superhuman.
Yeah, at first the vision restoration will be low res because you have to say like how many neurons can you put in there and trigger and you can do things where you adjust the electric field. So like even if you've got say 10,000 neurons, it's not just 10,000 pixels because you can adjust the field between the neurons and do them in patterns in order to get have say 10,000 electrodes effectively give you I don't know, maybe like having a megapixel or a 10 megapixel situation. So, and then over time, I think you get to higher resolution than human eyes, and you could also see in different wavelengths. So like Geordie LaForge from Star Trek, like the thing. You could just, like, do you want to see in radar? No problem. You can see ultraviolet, infrared, eagle vision, whatever you want.
Yeah, so will that work with HARP? Will that work? Like, will we be able to see all these frequencies coming out of all these towers that are just coming at us 24/7? Well, I doubt it, but it certainly makes you start thinking about, well, when you see an infrared, right? And we think about those purple streetlights, which I've covered many times over the years, which are still popping up. Well, I guess you'll be able to see people who are vaccinated, who it would literally just be like they live, right? You got your glasses on or you got your glasses off, and you'll be able to see who's vaccinated, who isn't. But I mean, we're going to be way deeper than that in the next 10, 20 years. Okay, so what we're seeing right here, this is so, it's so ridiculous to me that people can't think far enough to figure this stuff out as far as manipulation. It's not rocket science, but like, how easy is it to play people apparently in this day and age, where Elon Musk is a Dem his whole life. He's at the Met Gala. He's rubbing shoulders with all these Satanists. Then all of a sudden he supports Trump. And then he starts talking a little bit about Christianity and God, right? And all these, that's all they need to hear. And they support him. Because for them, it's a big deal. These people are obsessed with Donald Trump, which tells you how dangerous MAGA is, just as bad as the other side, the Democrats, right? Just, if not worse. That this guy could just come out and they're like, he's in, because they're desperate for rich, famous people to support Trump. Right? Because all you see are like the Dean Cains of the world who support Donald Trump, or Rob Schneider, right? Then you get Elon Musk, who's like the biggest billionaire, and none of them are suspicious when he's talking about getting this tech inside everybody's body, in between tweeting about woke insanity. Nobody questions the fact that he's got a trans kid. Of course he had to come out and say, hey, these, the woke movement ruined my family, it ruined my kid now. Because if anybody out there starts questioning him, that'd be a problem, right? People go, hey, he's got a trans kid? Oh, well, I made a mistake. Oh, you made a mistake. So the propaganda got to you, Elon, 5 to 10 years ago when your kid wanted to castrate themselves. And you were just like, oh, okay, I guess I should let my kid castrate myself because the TV's telling me to, right? You didn't have any common sense while you're supposedly building rocket ships and putting fallen angel technology inside of people's bodies. And of course, I say supposedly building rocket ships because we know these things go straight up, especially the SpaceX ones, which are the funniest ones to watch. They go straight up and then they just go veer to the left and then they just, crash somewhere and that's it, right? That's it. So very, very scary to start seeing this stuff. And when you see how deep the psychosis is, which everybody here on the website knows this already. Even if you're somebody out there and you're like, well, I'm still going to vote for Trump and whatever. You want to opt in, go ahead, opt in. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But I don't think there's anybody on the website who's 100% about Donald Trump who's like, I don't believe anything this guy says. Everybody over here, I would assume we all have the same mindset. We know politics are fake. If you realize how much control they have over everything, you think that they actually let us vote and pick these people, right? And again, it's not rigged, it's fake. But for people not to be able to see all of these people who are just merging with the conservative movement, from Russell Brand to Elon Musk to Tucker Carlson, people who used to be Democrats, right? They've all switched, and then everyone goes, well, that's because woke is so crazy. They've switched, right? And then you just listen little by little how they just mention God so they could draw you in more. You don't have to, none of these people look at what they're actually doing. They're actually looking at Neuralink like this is beneficial to me. I mean, the one comment I read to you, somebody actually saying that that this is a blessing from God. Yeah? Which God? Oh, the God of that they believe in? Lucifer? Because that's who it's from. That's who this technology is from. The fallen one's technology. So millions of people within the next 10 years is the hope for Elon Musk, that they'll have Neuralink inside them, that their genetic code will be altered. It's very, very scary to see how easily deceived most people are. I thank you guys for being here on the website. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.